Okay, good afternoon. Hello, everyone. And welcome to this webinar for students who are interested in studying business, economics, and management at Lund University. Today, we have something very special for you guys because we have invited current students representing many different programs, but also who come from different backgrounds to speak about their experiences as students at Lund. And I just talked with them and they told me that they were pretty new. Most of them, they started this autumn semester of 2022, but they have been here for a couple of months now. So they have some experience from studying and Lund. And today we have invited them to share their experience from, preparing and planning their application and what happened throughout the application procedure, when they got their offer last spring, I suppose, and how they plan to finally join us here physically and Lund. Because we know that many students are maybe in this similar situation this autumn, planning their application, or they have made their application to Lund, and there's a lot of things to think about. And we're going to ask the students here to give some expert advice and tips on how to plan before you make your application or during your application procedure. All participants are welcome to ask questions to our panelists. Of course, that's the point, really, to listen to your questions or to read your questions and have the current students answer to the best of their ability. You don't have to raise your hand. We'd rather that you actually write your question in the Zoom Q&A. So the Zoom Q&A, that is where you type your questions, and you can ask about anything related to being an international student at Lund University. So please go ahead and do so at any point. We have 1 hour today, so let's make the best of your time. There's already a question coming in here. We're not gonna take the question just yet because I would like to introduce our panelists, current students at Lund University School of Economics and Management. And first, I'm gonna ask Hasmik to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Hasmik. I'm from Armenia, and I'm taking Information Systems Master Program at Lund University.
Thank you, Hasmik. And then we have Domenica.
Hey everyone, I'm Domenica. I'm from Ecuador, and I'm studying International Marketing and Brand Management.
Great. And then we have Donna.
Hello, everyone. I am from Taiwan, and currently I'm taking the master program in managing people, knowledge, and change.
Thanks, Donna. We have Bettina Sophie.
Hi, I'm from Germany, and I'm taking the master's program in economic growth, population, and development.
Thank you, Bettina. We have noticed, you noticed that there is kind of an error in the program name there, so please disregard that, but we'll be okay. Tedo.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tedo. I'm from Georgia, and currently I'm studying my master's program in management at Lund University School of Economics and Management.
Thank you, Tedo. So yes, those are a master's degree program, but we also have a representative from one of our bachelor's degree program, namely Adriana.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm studying Bachelor in International Business and I come from Poland.
Very nice. So correct me if I'm wrong, but you told me you all started your studies here in this autumn, right? So you have been here for 3 months so far. Some of you are staying just 1 year, 1 year program. Some are staying 2 years perhaps. And Adriana, you will most likely stay for at least 3 years, right? In the bachelor program. So the first question that came in as soon as we opened the session was, how did you cope with the stress during the application process? It's a very stressful experience because you need to find the program and make your application and collect all your supporting documents and make sure that everything is right. How did you deal with that? Donna, would you like to share your experience?
Sure. For me, it was a very stressful time, especially I had a full-time job and 2 side projects and my own business to handle as well. So yeah, it was very stressed at the time, but I like to do workout, and workout is a way to help me release the stress and help me focus on the right things. Yeah, so that's how I usually doing do more workout. Yeah.
All right, Bettina, how did you feel in the application process?
I think for me it was quite all right because I studied in the Netherlands, so I think it's easier for Europeans than for non-EU students. But I think the university is quite supportive with it. If something is missing, they would still let you know, or like there is the hard deadline in January, but then you can still have a bit more time if something is missing to still upload it. So I think you should not stress too much about something when it's not there yet or something. So you still have some time.
Right, Hasmeek, how did you feel in the application process when you
Well,
selected your program, but what happened then?
well, after selecting comes all the questions, okay, where I'm gonna live, what I'm gonna do if I get admitted, and so on and so forth. My advice is just to try to organize, make a maybe to-do list, and maybe also to understand which program to choose. It is also very helpful. Just try to make it simple, keep it simple and structured.
Domenica, would you like to share your experience? Because I mean, when you apply to a program in Lund, you have to, yes, you make your application, but then you have to also send a bunch of documents in. Was it difficult to understand what documents to provide and how to provide them, in your opinion?
Well, sorry for the noise. Like my earphones just got uncharged. But okay, so yeah, I was working a full-time job when I was in Ecuador, back in Ecuador. So when this application process started, so it was so I distribute my time. So I was working maybe 40 to 45 hours in that time. But then I took from my weekend, I took for maybe around 8 to 10 hours, like just focus in my application. And I knew like, well, I had the experience like for 2 years ago, I started applying for masters. So I knew that this year, at least, I wanted to apply for some different options. So in this case, I focused like, for example, one weekend in this application, one weekend the other. So I think that it wasn't that difficult. I had all the instructions really like clear. So then it wasn't like an issue of, I don't know what documents to fill in, or I don't know how to proceed. So maybe it's just about organization, to be focused, even though like you don't have that much time, but at least take from like 5 to 8 hours per week, like just applying for the master that you want to apply. And if you really like, if it's your dream, then you will have that time, like you will find that time during your week. So yeah, it wasn't difficult for me. I managed my time somehow. I don't know how, but then yeah, it was tough, but then I'm here, you can see.
Yeah. Tedo, what do you feel? I mean, in the application procedure, was it stressful for you?
I would say I have quite similar experiences Domenica just said, because I had a full-time job at the time, but as information, almost everything is so much easily available on the university website. You just have to invest some time to organize everything. For me, it was easier to just visualize, just write my tasks. What should I do, and how should I do, and when should I do this? And I would not say it is something difficult to do. Is it just more about organizing and making sure that you tick the box, and afterwards you have ticked all the boxes? Stress level, of course, goes down because you see that you did most of the job. Of course, for me, stress was till the end of the application procedure, and also for the whole process, I was waiting for the results. For me, it was always there, and I think it's quite natural. So I would suggest that to just visualize, tick the boxes, do your job, and make sure that not to worry much about this, because after you apply, there is not too much you can do about the application. So just use the time to enjoy your time and wait for the results.
Right. Thank you very much. We also have Diane. Is that correct pronunciation of your name?
It's Diane.
Diane. Okay. Welcome from Entrepreneurship and Innovation. We're talking about the kind of stress that people might feel in the application process, because there's quite a lot of pressure to find information and to gather documents and to make sure that you have submitted everything in the correct way. And what we've heard so far from the panelists is that you have to be organized. That helps a lot when you make your application. Adriana, you applied to a bachelor's degree program, and then I know that there are not so many documents that you need to provide, right? It's basically just high school grades and proof of English, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everything was listed down on the university website, and there were also YouTube videos with instructions how and when to submit everything. So I just did a to-do list with a list of deadlines as well to keep everything in track.
Right. Diane, did you find it difficult to cope in the application process because you were worried about maybe making mistakes with your application or something like that?
Yeah, I think the first time I applied, I was kind of worried. I think what also helped me a lot is to basically before I apply, I always copy everything from the admission side and then making sure when I apply, I have these two windows looking into like this is the documents required and this is the ones that I already have right now. So I'm kind of comparing those things, whether everything's already there or not. I think that's what helps me stay making sure that I already did it right. I think that's basically what I did.
Yeah, and I think what is maybe a little bit confusing for applicants is that the feedback you can get from university admissions in Sweden, or the lack of feedback, maybe even I should say, because they won't necessarily provide much information if everything goes okay. They will just notify you in case they find a mistake. So students, maybe they don't hear anything and think, what's happening with my application? I don't know. So that can be a bit confusing, but I usually say no news is good news in that way, because you will only hear from them if there is an issue or a problem with your application. But that was like the first question, the stress of the application process. There is actually a question here. I think, Domenica, you as a student of international marketing and brand management, a person is asking about the two different specializations within the program. Can you share some information about that?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. So then, well, so when I apply for international marketing and brand management, there are these two tracks. So I'm in track 2, the one that is more consumer oriented, but there's also the one that some of my friends took that is track 1, that is more like a corporate and retail oriented focus. So what I've noticed, for example, at least from my track, I can talk more about my track because I feel more confident in it. So for example, we have like the semester, it's divided like in 2 cycles, let's say like that. So then in my first cycle, then I got 2 classes. The first one was consumer culture theory and consumer insight, and the other one was innovation. So then those 2 classes I got from the start, but then in the second cycle, you have the option like the track 1 and the track 2 join together, and then you can decide to take, for example, ethical marketing or digital marketing. As I really wanted to go into and go deep in digital marketing, that I took this like elective. But there's also other people that were more interested in ethical marketing that went through that option. So then you can see that track 1 and track 2, it's like combine these 2 classes. But also we have other class that is called the value of brands in consumption society, that is just for the track 2. So you see, like for me, like I'm really passionate and really into market research, consumer behavior, all about consumption and market research. That's also a big thing in my track. So then that's why I decided for track 2. So if you are more interested, for example, in retail or getting a more knowledge, like an overall knowledge of what's marketing, then you can take the track 2. So I've seen like, well, so that's maybe just a pattern, but I've seen that people that, for example, went like in their bachelor's to business, international business and all that, and they don't have like a really detailed, let's say, background in marketing, then they took that one because it's more general and you get more like insights from marketing. But then me, that I took as marketing as my bachelor, then for me it was way more interesting in the track 2, So that like, yeah, that's talking about the track 1 and track 2.
So they, depending on your own interest and your own kind of background,
exactly. But then in the second semester, like the one that starts in January, then you had 2 classes. That is the what's it's called, the quantitative and qualitative. Then you join like the 2 tracks are combined in those 2 classes. So then you can choose either like quantitative methods or qualitative methods that will help you for your thesis. And there's also other options where you can, for example, if you take track 2 that is more focused in consumption, then you can take corporate brands that is more focused in track 1. But there's also other subjects, other optional subjects that you can take as market intelligence, but also other class that is more into consumption. So then it's more about your preference.
All right, thank you very much. So I wanted to talk about, you mentioned that you can take different classes, etc. Is there anyone who would like to say a few words about, mandatory courses versus elective courses or optional courses? What's your program structure like? Do you have the opportunity to select courses, or are the course selections fixed before you start the program? What's it like, Hasmik, in your program information systems?
The first 2 months, we had 2 mandatory courses. It is all stated on the website of information systems. On the second period, during the second period right now, we had 1 mandatory course and 1 elective course. The information about the elective courses, the structures, also the examinations, what are they going to teach us, has been provided way earlier. And also during the third period, also there are going to be 2 elective courses, and the 4th period is all about master thesis. But you get all the information you want from a teacher himself. There is a presentation day when they come and talk about the courses, and you have time to decide and choose.
But this is, you don't have to choose your elective courses before you come to Lund. You do that when you have arrived.
No. Yes, you do that when you have arrived and you have a meeting with the lecturer to have all your questions answered. And then you have time after the meeting to decide, a week or 10 days, and then you choose.
Okay, thank you. Bettina, can I ask you, how many courses do you have at the same time? I mean, you're taking a full program. There are many different courses, but do you have many courses at the same time as well, or is it just 1?
No, for us, we always have 2 courses at the same time for, I think, 8 weeks. And in my program, we have 3 tracks. So it's quite a bit more complicated, I think, than another master's, because we always have a specific one for our track, and then we can choose another one most of the time. And in our second year, we can choose even courses from different departments, faculties. So we have a lot of choice we can make, which is quite nice. But we also have mandatory courses, of course, specific to our track.
Is there anyone here, a panelist, who is in a program where there are no mandatory courses, or sorry, no elective courses, just mandatory courses? Tedo?
Well, as a management program, it's quite unique in this way, and it's not as much standardized, and there are many parallel processes at a time. There is more balance between practice and the theory. So we do have only mandatory courses during this program, and it is also 1 course at a time. And for example, in our program, we have already finished 3 courses, and we are just working for the 4th course. So it is quite different program to program, what courses and what choices do you get for this.
Dion?
My course is also only mandatory courses, so we don't have any optional track that we need to choose. And every course usually, like Tedo, basically, in the beginning, it's only 1 course, and then when it ends, there's open another course. But I think for some time, we do have multiple courses run in one place. So for example, like these days, now I'm working on entrepreneurial leadership and then entrepreneurial project at the same time. but I think it's usually just 2 or maximum 3 courses that happen at the same time. And basically the one that happened at the same time is usually like the short course, and the one that is like long term until at the end of the year, because we have entrepreneurial project that lasts until we graduate, and then the other course is the short term courses that will end, and then they will open another course.
So a few different experiences here, but 1 or 2 courses at least at the same time students can expect in most programs. Donna, I would like to ask you, because you said when you made your application, you had a job, you had your own company, you seem very super busy. How useful did you find, I mean, your professional work experience, how useful was that for you in your application, do you think?
I think it gives me a lot of reflections and to help me think through what I really want to study on. And so I look into every courses from each programs and really think, consider what I really want to focus on. That's why I chose this program. So for my program, we only have mandatory courses, but you get to choose 2 out of 3 tracks. So our program only provide only 2 courses at the same time, and it was very heavy, but you get to learn very deep into each theories and each topics. So I would say my professional experience really helped me to be more clear and aware of what I want to focus on. So I think it would be really helpful for me to position myself in the future after graduating, like what kind of job I want, what kind of industry I want. And also I think it gave me more in-depth ideas of what exactly this experience gonna bring to me. So I think professional experience is really important for me to choose. Yeah.
Yeah, because we had this question, someone in the audience who wanted to know how useful or impactful the work experience was when you applied to a certain program or even in the program. Of course, no program that we have would require work experience, but it can be helpful for some applicants. So there is another question here about learning Swedish, because of course we know the programs are taught in English, your classmates and you communicate in English, but we live in Sweden where Swedish is the native language, but people usually speak English. But what is your impression of life in Sweden, living in Sweden as a non-Swedish speaker? Adriana, would you like to share some of your experience from, I don't know if you speak Swedish, maybe you do. I'm just going to assume that no panelists speak Swedish. But what's your experience, Adriana?
Oh, honestly, in my case, it was a bit different because I was studying in Denmark before, so I can speak a bit of Danish, which kind of helps me with daily life.
Okay, yeah, I mean, Danish and Swedish can be quite similar, but what about you other guys who do not know or understand any Swedish at all, at least not before coming here? What is your kind of feeling of living in Sweden as a non-Swedish speaker? Hasmik, do you speak Swedish?
No, I don't, and English is okay everywhere. During this 3.5 months, I didn't have any problem, any issue with the non-English speaking Swedish or other nations. So it's okay. I feel everything is with, if you are good in English, so you will not have any extra stress with Swedish.
Right, because there is a question here from someone who wanted to know, Wade, if there is a way to learn Swedish at the university while you are doing studies here. So I know that we have some kind of short course in the beginning of the semester, just like an introduction Swedish, but after that, you have to get a so-called Swedish personal number to be eligible for Swedish language classes. And you one-year students, maybe you don't have that, but Bettina perhaps, and also Adriana, maybe you would get Swedish personal numbers, so you qualified for free Swedish language classes, right?
Yeah, so to the Swedish personal number, you can't get it if you only stay for a year. So for a lot of master students, it was not possible to get one, but for me it was. And I could get it without speaking Swedish, that's no issue. But sometimes you get mail, which is in Swedish. So it's always good to know a Swedish person who can possibly translate it. Or Google Translate is your best friend at that point. And if you have a Swedish number, you can apply for SFE, I think it's called, like Swedish for foreigners. I did not apply for it yet, but I want to. I think it's totally fine if you don't speak Swedish, but I think just it's nicer sometimes if you could speak Swedish. And if, for example, I would like to stay in Sweden possibly after my master's, and then it's just good to know the language already. And it's like classes in the evening, so you could still do it next to your studies if you would like to.
Yeah. Anyone else? Tato, Dion, Donna?
Yeah, I would actually like to share as a non-English native speaker living in Sweden. I think it's super nice that everyone can speak fluent English here, so there's no problem to navigate the life here. The only thing is that when I go to the supermarket to do like grocery shopping, it's really hard for me because there's no English explanation on everything. So you kind of have to use a Google Translate all the time. And I think learning Swedish is more about learning the culture here, especially in the workplace. You don't really need the Swedish as well. Like you don't really need to learn Swedish, but on the social perspective, like if you want to make friends with the Swedish people here, then I think it'd be great to learn some Swedish. And also right now I'm teaching kids climbing here in Sweden. So the kids actually don't really speak English, and they might find me really intimidating if I don't speak Swedish with them. So I think if you want to get to know the locals more, then I think it'd be really helpful to learn the language. But otherwise, it's totally fine if you don't know anything about it.
Dion, Tato, Domenica,
I would say that, yeah, I took the Swedish classes as well. I mean, the short courses at the beginning of the semester from Lund University, and it was quite helpful for the basic words to study. But I was just thinking, I cannot remember the case when someone did not spoke in English here in Sweden, at least in Lund. So I had never had any problems with communicating with English. And also I would like to mention that people themselves are quite open to speaking English without any intimidation or problems. So it depends, of course, what objectives do you have. If you want to more integrate with locals, of course, it's always nice to be able to communicate in the local language, but I would certainly say that it's not must in order to be here and communicate with people.
All right. So basically what we can tell people is that if you are a one-year student, one-year master's, there is just a kind of a short intensive course in Swedish that the university provides. But if you stay for 2 or more years, you can get free Swedish language classes from it's organized by the city or municipality where you live, actually. So you can just apply for that. But I think it was Donna who mentioned the more social aspects of like meeting local people. Have you had the chance to meet any Swedish people outside of the classroom, as it were? I mean, socially, and are they?
Yeah.
People say Swedish people are shy. Swedish people are shy and may not approach you if you're not friends already. You know what I mean? Is that correct?
I would say we have to be proactive in approaching people here in Sweden, because Swedish people, they usually won't be the person who approach you, but they will be really polite and nice to reply you back. So that's a really great positive experience that I have here. They won't reject you or say anything else. They will just really be happy that you reach out to them and you approach them. So I think that's a very positive experience for me. And so I also joined some climbing because I love climbing, like bouldering. So I joined the local community here, and they are all very welcoming. And also because they probably know I'm in the meetings, they will always switch to English so I can understand. So I think that's a very nice gesture. They include someone else here and switch to different language just for me. So yeah.
All right. Domenica, what's your impression? I assume you're a Spanish speaker, right? And an English speaker.
Spanish speaker, yeah.
Not a Swedish speaker, maybe yet.
Yeah, I know the basics, but like I haven't used them since now. Yeah, I'm kind of shy, like because I know like I understand some things, but for me at the start it was kind of difficult, like to get used to. It was like quite a shock that I had from coming from Ecuador, like Latin America, and then coming to Sweden. But now after 3 months, I can say that like I'm more used to live here in Sweden. I'm happy, like talking about like getting involved or getting friendships and all that for like Swedish people. I have some friends, like maybe not 100 friends, but like 5 friends that are from Sweden, and the other ones are more from South America, Poland, and international students also. I'd say that maybe like if you want to, like, if you know the language, maybe like in intermediate or advanced level, then you'll make more easy friends here in Sweden for like talking about the locals. But then you will also have like the advantage that as it's the international city, then you won't have that problem. You will find people from South America. In my case, it was like an advantage because then those are my closest friends now. And then you find people also from different other countries, like around the world. And it makes you like see this overview and different cultures, perspectives, and having friendships from all around the world. So yeah, I'm pretty happy now.
Thank you. But I think that's kind of interesting. Can you speak a bit about the makeup of your class? Because we always like to say, oh, we're a very international university, but are we? Is that also your impression after taking a class here in Lund? Adriana, would you like to share information about you're a bachelor degree student, so we should perhaps keep that in mind, because I think those programs tend to have more Swedish students perhaps than the master's degrees, but can you still share your experience from?
Yeah, exactly. I think in my class it's 50-50, 50% of Swedish students and 50% of international ones. But I think in the beginning it was quite easy to make friends because of many university events organized around. So I got to meet many people from my class and from the second bachelor taught in English.
Okay. Diane, what about your class? How many are non-Swedish? I mean, how many approximately classmates?
We have around 60 students in my class, and then only 4 of them are Swedish.
Okay, so it's a tiny kind of minority.
Yeah.
Where do the rest come from? Where are they from?
We have about, I think, around 20 nationalities in our class. So 2 from USA, and then mostly from Europe. But we also have Southeast Asia, we have East Asia, we have South Asia, we have South Africa, we have South America. So I think everywhere from all around.
Is that also the case for you, other guy? I mean, Donna, Tedo. Yeah, Tedo, would you like to say something to that?
Yeah, my group is also quite international. There are students from 25 different nationalities in my class, almost all from all the parts of the world. There are almost, I would say, 20 to 30% from Sweden, and all of us are from many different places. Quite balanced in this regard, because we cover almost all continents. Australia, we have 2 guys from Australia as well. So it helps a lot as well for the learning process, because when you're such an international environment, you get completely different viewpoints from the others and completely or quite different understandings of the same subject or topic. So it helps a lot for the understanding as well, together with studying and learning about different cultures and languages and people from there. So I would say it's quite international.
I just want to say, because we had a session with the teachers previously today, or program representatives, and they say it's very common that classmates learn from each other. I mean, you learn as much from each other as you do from the teachers or professors. Is that correct, Hasmik? Would you say that's true? Because these people you meet in your class are from all over the world and with their perspectives and their knowledge that they bring in. So that's very useful for you as well.
Yes, I totally agree, because the group projects are very common in the process of learning, and groups switch from one course to another. And working with international students, international people in one group is very interesting. It can be sometimes worrying, because at the beginning you have issues with understanding each other, but at the end it works great. I mean, exchanging knowledge, experience, and a point of view is always a good thing to do.
Thank you. So we have a question here, and I think it's a question that a lot of prospective students are interested in. It's not really about learning or the programs, it's about working part-time. Is there anyone here in this group of students who has any experience with part-time job in Sweden? Domenica?
Well, so I don't have yet my experience, but I've been through different recruitment process, so maybe I can help you somehow, like showing you how is the recruitment process. I think that if you put like one, like for example, maybe like now that I really want to get a job, given maybe 2 hours of my day by applying to jobs, and then from those jobs, imagine if I've applied for 30 jobs, they have called me from 3 to 4 companies. So in this case, Swedish, like you can find like easier at work knowing Swedish, but then it's not mandatory. Like I don't know Swedish, but I have had like these opportunities and interviews and all that where you don't need Swedish at all. So now I'm in the final steps of recruitment process into companies. So then I think that it's not that difficult. I don't know how it's from the other masters, but Lund University is a really recognized company, like university. So then I think that you won't have that much problem if your purpose is also finding a part-time job. Obviously, it's better and easier to find a full-time job, but then there's also these options of part-time. Then I'll suggest you, like, for example, in my case, I live here in Lund, then you can find in Malmo a lot of options. Like I've seen that there's a lot of options in Malmo, at least for my master's. Also here in Lund, there's sometimes that you can find like some other vacancies, open positions. And if not, then you can also see maybe an option in Copenhagen that is also super close from here.
All right, thank you. Bettina, you had you raised your hand and then you took it back, but maybe you had something to share about part-time jobs.
Yeah, I think it really depends on what you study, because for me, it's really hard to find one. Because I'm doing demography, which is not the most common thing. And a lot of jobs would be in Denmark, so in Copenhagen. And I know it's not far, but traveling there back and forth is quite time consuming. And also what you need to know is if you have a Swedish personal number, you can apply for subsidy or like money from the government from Sweden if you work 10 hours per week, but you can only do that if you have a job in Sweden and only if you're a citizen. So for me, it doesn't really make sense to work in Denmark, because then I would not get the money from the government. And I think it's also a lot, I don't know, Dominika, if it was for you the same, but I think some companies want you to have the Swedish person number and a Swedish bank account. So I think it can be quite hard for 1 year's master student to find a part-time position, to be honest. So don't come here and expect to find one when you, like financially, you should be able to afford this life here without depending on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely correct. And especially for students who need to get a residence permit. in order to join us here, they must have savings in their bank account. So because a student might find a part-time job, but they also might not find a part-time job or even have time for it, you know, because many of these programs are very intense and require a lot of work. So that is the main priority, of course. A question came in here. Is it compulsory to learn Swedish while studying? Hasmik, do you need Swedish language proficiency?
No, I don't need because everything is in English, and professors, they have great English, and all the exams and works are being done in English. So I'm not thinking about learning Swedish for studying, at least.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, no, the answer is no. You don't need Swedish to join an international degree program in Lund. Adriana, can I ask you, what is your schedule like? A typical week, or I mean, you've only been here since August, so but you maybe at this point you have kind of an idea about how to structure your studies and how much time you need to spend every week studying and in class and etc. Can you tell us a bit about that from your experience?
Yeah. From the beginning of the semester, I had 3 courses at the same time, and now I have 2. So the amount of lectures, seminars, and the compulsory things varies between 10 to 15 hours per week. And then, of course, the rest of the time is just for us to study on our own, do the assignments, write essays, or maybe do some group works as well. So I would say also there is one day in the week that's totally free without any lectures at university that we can just divide to do group work or just study on our own. Because there are also a lot of readings that we need to prepare for the classes. So the time is very useful.
Right, how to manage your time. Tedo, what's your take? I mean, how much time per week do you spend like in lectures or group work or seminars or?
Well, I would say that I assume it depends on the program because all of them are different. For example, my program is quite intensive, and even though we have 1 classes per time, at one time it demands quite a lot of time from us, even though there is only 1, 2 or 3 hours of lecturing each day. The whole other time you need to prepare to work in teams and other projects to be prepared for everything. So I would say that at least 8 hours a day is something you should have in mind if you're going to study masters in management here in Lund. But of course, it depends on the person as well.
Dion, what's your experience? There is a question here. What's the teaching style? Is it more lectures, more seminars, or group works, or everything? And can you also tell me a bit about your the relationship between program staff, academic staff, and students? Do you have an opinion on that, Dion?
Oh, okay. So in terms of the interaction, maybe first, I would say it's very casual here in Sweden. Like you can call the professor, the teachers by their name. I think it's something new for me, because it's I usually always call someone, older people, like Mr. or like Sir, something like that back home. But if you do that here, it's going to be weird on their side. So yeah, that's also something that I try to adjust. And then in terms of the lecture style, I think it's quite varied. We do have a lot of group work, mostly group work, but then when you come to the class, the way the teacher teach you could be different depending on the subject. For example, like the first introduction usually just a one-way kind of thing, but once you already enroll to the class, there will be a lot of readings going on before you come to the class, and in the class it focuses more on the discussion instead of the teacher telling you what's new in class. So it's about the discussion that you already read beforehand, so the class is quite productive in that sense. Another way is also we do a lot of case study, we do a lot of role playing as well sometimes, where basically we learn by doing things.
Well, I have a question, and anyone here in the panel can join. What's the kind of division between, in your opinion, between more theoretical and practical component of the program? Is it very theoretical? You just read books and write, or is it that you learn some theories and then they encourage you to apply the knowledge in a more practical way? Can you speak to that? Anyone here? Maybe Donna, would you like to share your experience? Is it your program more theoretical, more practical, or 50-50?
I will say my program is very theoretical oriented. However, in the class, the professor will actually encourage you to apply the theory that we have learned to the case study. So we will have seminar. So it's like a lot of discussion. You will have to apply to the case study that the professor assigned and discuss with other classmates in the classroom. So I think in a way it's very theoretical oriented, but on the other hand, it's also very dialogue based to help you apply those theories we learned. And also the exam are mostly take-home exam, is also to help you to encourage you to think critically and also to apply for the theories. Yeah.
Is anyone else would like to say something about this? Are your programs mostly theoretical, and then, or is it more, Dion? And
Yeah, I think for my program it's 70% practical and 30% theoretical, probably, because a lot of things that we need to accomplish in the program is to actually by doing something. But in terms of the assessment for the task, for instance, we do need to align what you practice into the theory. So that's where the theory comes in. That's why you still need to understand the theory and how that could help you in practice. But yeah, mostly the program requires you to do a lot of things by yourself and within the group.
okay, so there's a mix, but different programs have different kind of. Domenica, what's in your program? Is there a practical component, or is it mostly theory?
There's practical, but there's a lot of readings. Like I've been reading my 3 months, like 24/7. But I like to read, so then it's not an issue for me. But like at least in my master's, I don't know how it's track 1, so I'll talk more about my track. That it's more like psychological and all that. It's tons of reading. Maybe I read 3 or 4 articles from like 20-25 pages each, like each day. So yeah, like if you go to the track 2 in my master's, then you're expecting to read a lot. But also, like for example, in my digital marketing class, like what I like the most of that class is that it's super practical. So you learn the theoretical part, but also you have like a simulation where you can apply all the concepts and all the definitions that you're learning in class. And in my, like in this part of the theoretical in the other courses, then it's fun because then you have the seminars where you can see your perspective and tell the others your perspective. And some of the readings that I'm going through, like the authors are my professors. So that's like quite interesting to see how like my professors get to that idea or to that perspective, and they can explain to you like further. There's a lot of seminars also and project groups. So yeah, basically my master's is like the main components are readings, seminars, this part of practical, but also like working in groups.
All right, thank you very much. Time flies. We just have 10 more minutes left. I have a question that came in here that is not about studying or research, but it's about the nightlife in Lund. Now, Bettina, you're smiling. Is there a nightlife in Lund? What happens?
Yeah, there is definitely a nightlife in Lund, even though it's small. There are a lot of nations. I don't know how many nations are there, 12 or
12, 13, I think.
Yeah. So when I came here, I was like, what are nations? Nations is, it's really hard to explain, but they're kind of, you have to join a nation that's like your home nation, but you never have to show up again, if you don't like it. But every nation has their own club or bar, and they have their specific days where you can go to the nations. and meet up friends, and yeah, go to the club if you want, and you can even live with the nations. So if you search for for housing, you can also look into nations and apply for them. I think that a lot of people don't know about that, so I mention it here because it might be an option for you. And then there is also the T-Bar in Lund, which is the club without nations, or you go to Malmö or Copenhagen if you really want to go to a bigger city. So you have a lot of options, and even though Lund is small, you're definitely gonna have a nightlife you can enjoy.
No, Lund is a pretty small town, but it's a big university on the other hand, so lots of young people in the city. Anyone else? Do you have time for night? Maybe you need to go to bed early to cope with your studies and your program, or maybe sometimes you can go out and enjoy your evenings. Hasmik, Tedo, please chime in.
Well, there are several good places to go for the nightlife in Lund, certainly. And it's always to have some time for yourself and enjoy the life outside the university. So Lund has all in one. So I would say that there is definitely nightlife in Lund. It's just up to you how you manage your time and your needs and wants during being here in Lund.
Right. What about, I mean, nightlife is one thing to go out and have fun and, you know, Friday, Saturday night maybe, but what about other social activities? I know Donna talked about, for example, like a climbing club or hiking, stuff like that. Is anyone enjoying hiking in this group?
Yeah, I do. I also joined, so there are many different kinds of like outdoor student club that they will host many different events, and also on Facebook there are also some clubs or groups that's hosting organized by non-students here in Lund. So it's a really nice way to meet people, and there are also some extreme sports groups that you can join, and you can go diving or even surfing in Sweden. So I think it's super nice that there are many natures outdoor activities that you can explore. So for me, I also went canoeing with my friend here in the middle of the Sweden, and it was such a great experience. So I think it's mainly based on what you want to do, and you always find something here. Yeah.
Can I ask more kind of general question, and maybe it's different from person to person, but do you, in your social life, do you hang out mostly with your classmates or with the people you happen to live with? I mean, in like a student dorm, or do you have friends based on your kind of from your home country or from all kinds of countries? What's it like? Adriana, what about you? Do you have mostly hang out with your classmates, or it's a mix of people?
I would say mostly with classmates, but then I also know a few people from the Novice Week. That's actually a fun social activity that you do when you're a new student in Lund. That's also how I met a lot of people that we still hang out despite we met in August. So there are a lot of ways to meet people outside of the class. That's also a good way about Lund.
All right. Because you all come from different countries, and I would like to know, how important is it for you to be able to meet people coming from your kind of own cultural background, or linguistic for that matter? Is that something you feel that you're able to do if you want to meet, like Donna, you're from Taiwan, if you want to meet someone from Taiwan, or is Chinese speaking person, or Dominica from South America? You mentioned you have friends from South America. How important is that, and how easy is it to find those people in Lund?
I would say it's not for me, because I've been working for a while, and Lund is a student town, so I found it will be maybe I should say my program it's not very diverse. Like 80% or 94 out of 60 students are Asians, and the others are all Europeans, and mostly people from Germany and Netherlands. So for me, as a minority here, I would say I think people tend to get connected with the people from the similar cultural background. And usually in Sweden, it really depends on what you like. But because I like outdoor activities, so I get to meet locals and also foreigner Westerners here to make friends easier with them. But I usually hang out with friends out my with us who share the same interests as me. But I also know a lot of people who prefer hang out with their roommates or corridor mates rather than their classmates. But I think it's really verified. Depends on each person's experience. Yeah.
Right. If you're comfortable hanging out with anyone, regardless where they happen to come from. Hasmik, you're from, I believe you said Armenia, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Have you found any Armenian friends in Lund? If you feel like feel a bit homesick maybe or whatever, you want to speak with?
Yes, in Lund, in Malmo, in other towns also, and I believe it happens naturally. Like you know, person you know of your nation, then you know another person, then another, and then you have a group. But still, it is always good experience to hang out with your classmates apart from classes, to go somewhere. I don't know, I went to traveling to Helsingborg and to Helsingor with them, and also with the student nations you get to travel or I don't know, go to hiking or other social activities. It's always good to communicate with as much people as you can meet. Well, at least for me.
All right, thank you. Bettina, we heard there are a lot of Germans and people from Netherlands. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's correct. There are lots. So you can, as a German or a Dutch person, you can definitely find people who speak your own language. But in my master's, we are really international. We only have 3 Germans and only 4 Swedish people, and the rest is somewhere else. So that's quite nice. And I'm also part of Lund Ekonomerna, which is the student union of the Lund, our faculty, the economics faculty. And there it's also to get Swedes, to get to know them. It's very nice to join that. And also they have a lot of events also for corporate events. You can join as an international and get to know corporations. And that's quite nice, I think. So you get to know a lot of people.
Tato, would you like to weigh in? You were from Georgia, right? We have some Georgian students in Lund. Have you met them?
Yeah, I've met, I think, about 15 Georgians here so far. And I believe there are much more. So whenever I feel that I just need to speak in Georgian, I know where to go. So it's quite good. It's always good to have an option to go there because of the cultural closeness and everything. So the fact that Lund University is so international helps you in this regard to find someone from closer from your culture and language.
Right. Dion, I didn't catch, where are you from? I didn't.
From Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know for a fact that we have quite a lot of Indonesian students in Lund. Or have you managed to find friends from Indonesia or from maybe Southeast Asia? I don't know if you like to hang out with people who have a similar kind of cultural background as yourself.
Yeah, I think I know a lot of Indonesian students because we have like an Indonesian association here. So we do hang out a lot as well. But I think I spend most of my time more in the class because basically it's a 40 hours per week and you need to kind of make friends with people in class in order to do like entrepreneurial project together. It's a whole year program. So I think it's important to make friends in class, but I do also hang out with my corridor mates. If I miss Indonesian food, but I know where to go, I'll just go to with my Indonesian students. I usually go there when we want to eat together, local Indonesian food.
Okay, that's a good note. I want to ask my final question for you here today because it's 5 o'clock already. What do you do when you feel homesick, Domenica?
What I do when I feel homesick, call my family.
You call your family. You
Yeah,
eat some maybe Ecuadorian food.
Yeah, well, no, there are not ingredients for Ecuadorian food, but at least I try to call my family, my friends back in home. Also, spend time with. There are not that much Ecuadorians here. Maybe I found 5 or 6 people from Ecuador. So, but you can find people from other countries in Central and South America. So then you can feel somehow home talking to them. And yeah, but yeah, at least the first month, second month, I was feeling super homesick. So I tried to call my mom every day. But then, like, then you get to know people. They are like, through the months, they are coming closer to you and all that. So then, like, you have this support from all the people you start getting to know and all that. And then that thing, it's the thing that is crucial, like when you're feeling like that, coming with people from your culture, talking a little of Spanish. Now we're mixing some English and Spanish because we're mixed in like 24/7 English and Spanish to talk with people that doesn't know Spanish. So then that's good. I think that those are my 2 tips when you're feeling homesick here in Lund.
All right, I think that's all the time we have. Thank you, Domenica, Bettina, Hasmik, Donna, Adriana, Dion, and Tedo for joining us here today, current Lund University students. I'm sorry we couldn't speak more or let you say more things about more topics. It's a limited format here, but I want to thank you for taking the time to join us here today and share some of your experiences of being an international student at Lund University, School of Economics and Management. And for those of you who tuned in, I wish you the best of luck with your application. Maybe next year you will be a panelist like these guys here are today. But anyway, I want to wish you a happy rest of the week and have a nice weekend, all of you. And thanks for joining. Take care.